Hi everybody, this is Maria Jones, COO Forum Atlanta Chapter Director. Super excited to bring to you another episode of our Member Spotlight series in which we learn more about our area COOs and more about the COO role itself. So today I'm super excited. We're going to talk to my great friend Michael Goggin, who is reigning COO at Cloud Q here in Georgia. We're going to learn more about Mike's ever-changing day. No 2 days are the same. Let's talk more with Mike. So hi everybody, this is Maria from COO Forum Atlanta. I am privileged to be with one of my great friends and colleagues, Mike Goggin. Mike, would you like to say hello to everybody?
Maria, thank you very much. Very happy to be here today. As you mentioned, my name is Mike Goggin. I'm the COO of Cloud Q. We're located in Alpharetta, Georgia, and we do software development and configuration for Salesforce projects. And looking forward to our session today.
Very good. Well, thank you so much. So I'd like to introduce everybody to Mike. One of the things that we always like to talk about at the COO Forum is the role of the Chief Operating Officer. So just to get people who are not affiliated with that role, Mike, more affiliated with what the COO does, well, how would you define the role as the Chief Operating Officer?
Excellent. Well, I can tell you, if you talk to different people and you ask what a Chief Operating Officer is, you'll get a lot of different answers. And I think when I come in every day sometimes, I would probably give you some different answers depending on what week and what day. But I look at the COO role more as the second in command. Mm-hmm. So they're there really supporting the Chief Executive Officer or the owner of the company. I also look at it as operations. Okay. So if you ask me what is one word that would describe the role, I would say, it's the person really managing the operations. That could be finance, marketing, sales, etc. Making sure that from the customer side, everything is running smoothly, and from an internal perspective that we have the right processes and things in place. And it's really that person that the CEO goes to whenever they have any issue with the company. They'll seek that role to jump in there and come with a plan.
Sounds good. So you heard it. COOs are the second in command. The operations guru. Okay, moving on. So with that, Mike, as you just stated, and most chief operating officers definitely agree that no COO role is ever the same. So can you tell us a little bit more about your role today in your COO role, how long you've been in the COO role, and what do you enjoy about it?
Excellent. Yeah, so formally I would say 2.5 years in the COO role. I would say from a career perspective, most of my career has been in the operations type area. So even though I may not have had the COO role in the past, I think a lot of things that I learned over the years and things that I did were concentrated in that. For me, I kind of look at my role as like the glue of the operation. So everything that we do on a daily basis, internal, externally, I manage that with our teams. I consult with our Chief Executive Officer, which is also the owner of our company. And we pretty much meet daily, kind of have that quick checkpoint. What are the key issues going on? What are the things that we're going to focus on today? And then I meet with my team leads every morning, and we kind of do pretty much the same thing that I do with the CEO, get a rundown for the day. It really can differ depending on what's happening on that particular day. So for instance, I'm involved in the marketing side, the sales part, finance, working with the CPA, working on payroll, making sure everybody gets their paycheck on time, which I know is very important to everyone. And from the customer side, being customer facing, understanding what their needs are, how we're doing as a company, what they would like to see different from us. So, you're wearing a lot of different hats, I guess is the way to put it. And it really comes down to, where do we need the most focus? And that's how I prioritize my day is, what is the area that needs the most focus that particular day? And then I go through the day in order with that. From the customer side, I would say when a customer needs something, that's always my number one priority. And I define customer not just as somebody that, is working with our business from an external perspective. Customers also are employees. which I think is very important. So if an employee has, something they want to talk about, I make that a priority, to work with them just like I would anyone else outside of our company.
Excellent, excellent. So, Mike, what you described is no 2 days are alike in your role. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's a good description. I think for, this type of role, you come with a plan every day. And that plan is going to change constantly. It's very dynamic. And that's really what I love about it, is that, I have things that I want to accomplish. I get up each morning, I define, here are the things that I really need to focus on today. But during the day, there's all kind of things that happen. And, what I have a goal for myself is that by the end of each day, the key areas that I wanted to focus on, I did those things. And, of course, I did lots of other things also, but I always try to make sure that the areas of focus for that day, that I at least get those accomplished, before I end my day.
I like that approach. I like that a lot. So, Mike, tell everyone, what is your professional superpower?
Superpower. So it's kind of interesting. I thought about that a little bit, and, my wife, the first thing she said is your spidey sense.
Ah, I like that.
And I immediately said, spidey sense? What do you mean? And she said, it is amazing how you're able to foresee things and plan for things differently than most people that, she has encountered. So then I asked different people that I work with, I said, what do you think of this? What are your thoughts? And they started to laugh. They said, yeah, that's actually a really good description of you. And, for me, it's, I'm not psychic, nothing like that. I think I've had many roles, like I mentioned, in operations, a lot of experience in different environments, and I'm able to kind of take a look at different pieces of data that I see, or how people are feeling, in the organization, and be able to come with a plan to say, okay, I see this coming, let's see what we can do about it. I think, we were talking a little bit earlier about, the economy and things that we see there. And, you can pick up on a lot of things, just reading the news, reading different articles in the industry and things like that, and really trying to just have your, finger on the pulse, as they say. And you can draw a lot of conclusions from that. And I always try to plan for the worst. And if things come out better than I expected, hey, that's wonderful. But I try not to, come with my rosy colored glasses all the time. I definitely like to be very practical and conservative in my thinking. And I think, in most operations roles, that's a good approach. And you have your balance between times that you want to take risk and times that you want to be more on the conservative side. And I think anybody that has worked with me will tell you I'm more on the conservative side than on the high risk. And that balances out the role that I have versus the role that the CEO has.
I think so too. I think spot on. So, Mike, how did you start down the path of operations?
Excellent question. So, I kind of really just moved into it, quite honestly. So as I was progressing in my career, I started out working in like a customer service type role. I've done some retail sales, and then I got into the engineering area, and I started working with billing companies and reconciling data between the cellular networks and our billing vendors, and I had a lot of interest in that. And that's kind of my forte into the IT area. And for 20 some years, I've been in IT and different roles and different areas I've been exposed to. And it really, for me, it was like a passion, right? I didn't know from day one, like, hey, I want to be in operations. But over the years, the more that I was exposed to, I realized, like, wow, when I get up in the, each day, I like doing this. This is kind of cool, and because operations, you're in the mix of everything. There's really never a dull day. I can't really say in my career that, I look back and say, wow, today, what am I going to do? It was always like pants on fire type approach, and I loved it. And yeah, I definitely would recommend it to anybody that kind of likes to get in the middle of things and, influence and really, have an ability to make change. It's an excellent type of role for that.
Absolutely. That wonderful, wonderful. Well, Mike, with that, what type of student were you way back when you were? I'm sure you're a student now because we are always doing our continuing education. But what type of student were you early in your career or previous?
So I think, depending on who you ask, if you were to sit down with my parents or my friends, you may get a different answer.
True.
But, I think for me, there were subjects that interest me. And anything that I felt I really wanted to learn about, I gave 250% to it. I wanted to know everything about that. I was kind of a sponge, for that information. If it was a subject that I didn't really feel I could utilize or that was really going to help me, I definitely got through it. I got good grades, but I would say like that wasn't, you could tell that wasn't my strength.
Gotcha.
And when I got into college, things changed. So when I got into college, I was on the business track, and my minor was in management.
Okay.
And a lot of the classes that I took were geared towards that. So for me, I was really enthused to be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also knew the core classes needed to be taken. So, I didn't have as much energy. So, I'll be real about it.
Uh-huh.
But, I felt that, in order to have a career, I was going to need to get good grades and not just skate by. So, I finished, top of my, class in both my undergraduate and my graduate degrees. Didn't finish number one, of course, but what I mean by that is, I got A's all through, school, and it meant a lot to me personally.
Okay.
And, I always encourage my kids now that, you always have to strive, to be the best. Even though you may not be number one, you got to at least strive for that and want more. And when people see that, and see that you're open to new opportunities and you want to learn, they're willing to give you, more help with that. Mm-hmm. But if you take that stance that you know everything and you don't need to, strive for more, I think people back off a little bit and they're not as open and transparent with you than they normally would be.
That is so true. That is so true. Because when people see that energy of like, yes, this person wants to learn, they want to invest in that learning. So yeah, that's so true. Very spot on. So last but not least, Mike, how do you like to spend your time? Like really, when you just have time and you're not obligated to do anything, you get to choose what you do with your time. What do you like to do?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I mean, a typical weekend, a typical, holiday time for me, I spend a lot of time with family. I work out, we travel a lot. So we travel, my wife and I, as well as, with the kids. So we definitely enjoy that a lot. My kids are involved in sports. Okay. So, a typical weekend will be at a basketball game or a baseball game or, something like that. And so, I would say my personal life is very much like my professional life, where I'm out and about. Okay. I'm doing a lot of things. I do have my times when I like the quiet, and I normally will do like an audio book or something like that. I don't want to tell you what topics I have. It may blow everyone's mind, but they're quite boring. No, they're actually quite boring what I listen to, but I try to learn a lot from other people that were successful and different tips that I try to take from each thing that I read or listen to, to try to better myself. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not into fantasy and things like that. I'm more practical, and that kind of goes with my professional thinking. So, but yeah, I mean, I have a very busy life, and I definitely enjoy that.
Yes. So since you're an audiobook and or reader, what's been your latest, like, this was a good read?
Yeah, so the latest book that, this one I've actually been reading, so I haven't been listening to it, is from Patrick Lencioni on it's called Working Genius. And I went to an event and heard him speak live here in Atlanta with the COO Forum. And it prompted me. It's not something I normally would have read, to be frank, but I took the opportunity to sit down and read it, and I got through it on an airplane ride. So it only took a couple hours, and I was through the book. Picked up a lot of good tips on it, and as I mentioned earlier, I think for me it's when I read different things and I learn from other people on things that they did well and things that they didn't do well.
True.
I can take that into myself, look at it a little deeper, and say, okay, how do I, transform that for me? Mm-hmm. And So that's my latest one, and but I'm always changing up. I read different excerpts from different books at times, just to kind of refresh my memory on different topics. But I definitely, like you said earlier about the, being a lifetime learner. I think it's extremely important for everybody, and you can do that in many ways. As I mentioned earlier, but for me, it's like even just driving in the car and listening to a book, I'm going to pick up different things, or like I said, in the plane. Some people like to sleep, I like to read. So, but it's a distraction, it's something else to kind of, think about, and hopefully you learn from it at the end of the day.
No, that's good. I've also read that book, Working Genius. It's actually very good. I've enjoyed it. I've actually figured out my working genius. I think that's a hot topic we should talk about at our next COO Forum meeting. So thank you so much, Mike. It has been always a privilege to speak with you and learn more about who you are, what you do, and how you do it. You all can learn more about Mike. His LinkedIn will be here below. And as well, feel free to contact him on the COOE Forum. If you are not a COO Forum member, please, and you're interested in mentorship, you can get mentored. Please reach out to COO Forum Atlanta for a mentorship opportunity with many minds just as great as my great friend here, Mike. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks a lot, Maria. Appreciate it.